All right, welcome in, you guys. It has been a hot minute since we've been here, but we're back. There was a 2-week break, and we're here at the end of the tunnel. And here's the thing. We didn't just survive one 2-week break, we did it twice. Oda took a trip to the OPLA set in Africa for 2 weeks, came back, dropped at 11:31, and then took another 2-week break because his health was declining. Thankfully, though, the One Piece Twitter account did say that his health is improving and there will be a chapter this week. So with that being the case, I think this is a great time to refresh ourselves on 11:31 and just make some general predictions as to what we could see in this upcoming chapter. Of course, this video is all just my opinion. If you guys have your own thoughts as to what you want to see next chapter or what you think we'll see, let me know down below. So with that being said, let's start from the top and just work our way down to the bottom from last week's chapter. So last week, we got, I think it's volume 17 or 18 of Yamato's cover page journey, and we saw that Yamato, Tama, and Speed are chasing the sword thief. I know. Boo, boo! I don't want to hear about Yamato anymore. I get it. But here's the thing. There's a good chance we're going to continue it this week. So with that being the case, what are we going to expect? Well, personally, I don't think Oda is going to reveal who the sword thief is quite yet. I think he's going to drag this out as long as possible. So what I think might happen in 11:32 is that we will reach the thief's hideout. We'll reach their smuggling bay where all the women, Minatomo, and the swords are being kept. And then we'll get some background hints as to who this character might actually be. And here's the thing, right? I say boo, boo, nobody wants the Yamato cover page story right now, but that's only right now. When Oda starts dropping in some heavy characters or bringing in characters from the outside of Wano in, I think that is when it will get insane. And that will happen. It's just a matter of when will Oda do this, right? Based off of the previous cover page stories we've gotten, like the Capone Beige one or the Vinsmoke one, things took off at like volume 7. This is the longest spread we've had where nothing really grandiose has happened yet. Oda's just kind of building up this journey step by step, and it makes sense, right? Yamato does have a big journey in front of her. She has to travel all around Wano, and Wano, man, it's not exactly a small country. So yeah, I do think we will reach the hideout. We'll get some background details. As far as who I'm thinking it might be right now, I'm still leaning towards Shinobu, but again, that wouldn't make any sense because why would she steal swords and kidnap people? So I don't think it's her. The only reason I suspect her is because she's missing from our group, right? We saw her a minute ago, and now she's nowhere to be found. So that's my reasoning, not exactly super strong. Maybe she's just eating some food or using the toilet, but low be it for me to say. So now, on to the chapter, right? We have 11:31. We started off with Luffy and Loki. And Loki, turns out he's a little bit of a menace, right? Last chapter, or 11:30, it's weird saying that, right? Last chapter when it's been like 4 weeks. But in 11:30, when we first met him, a lot of people, myself included, we were like, hey, maybe Loki was framed. Maybe he's a good guy, but he's just wording things horrendously. No. He doubles down here, and he talks about how if Luffy releases him, he'll kill any pirate crew Luffy desires, right? Anybody Luffy wants, Loki will put them down. And not just that, we got a bounty reveal. Loki is worth 2.6 billion berries, which is not exactly a small bounty. Yes, it's not among the Yonkos and the Greats, but it's really up there. I think it's within the top 10 right now. So yeah, Loki's bounty is pretty crazy. It's also a special bounty. We don't really have too many details as to what that pertains to yet. But as far as Loki and Luffy goes, I genuinely, hot take, I don't think we'll see them this chapter. I know, right? Like, the main character? What are you talking about, dude? I think Oda, just like the Yamato cover page story, I think Oda might want to stretch out this mystery a little bit more. And you might be wondering, what mystery, Sai? Well, Loki did offer Luffy a little bit of something, right? He said, hey, Luffy, you get my keys, you release me, and I will tell you what I know about Shanks. And that right there, my friends, is where we left off. We don't know what Luffy is thinking. Will he release this maniac back into society to learn more about Shanks? Or will Luffy's better judgment take over and say, no, it's not worth it? Personally, I don't know. I know that's a cop-out answer, but I genuinely don't have a side I'm leaning towards because I could see it going either way. Luffy could tell this guy to F off, or Luffy could just go upstairs and get the keys because he wants to know about his hero Shanks. So yeah, I think it's really interesting, and because of all of the debates around this topic, I think Oda will prolong it a little bit. And here's one thing to keep in mind as well. 1132 was not supposed to come off of a break, right? We were supposed to get 1131, 1132, and then chapter 1133. There was not supposed to be a emergency 2-week break here. So whatever we're getting in this chapter, it's what Oda was going to roll with for a while. And the reason I bring that up is because whenever Oda enters a break or leaves a break, he'll usually come in with a shebang, you know? He comes in with 5 booms! But since this is off of 1131, which was not supposed to be a break week, I think it will be more mellow. So yeah, I don't think we'll see any Luffy. I don't think we'll see any Loki. If we do see Loki, it could be with Harden, because we do know that Harden is in the lower levels of Elbaf, and he's hauling back a giant moose for the Straw Hats, so maybe he does pass by Loki. But even if that does happen, I don't think we'll see Luffy nearby. I think Luffy would have made 1 or 2 decisions, and we're not going to see it quite yet. Like I said, my thoughts right there. So as far as Harden goes, I hope... It's a hard one. I was about to say, I hope Oda kind of picks up the pace a little bit, and we see Harden meet the Straw Hats like Usopp, Zoro, Sanji, and all them. And yeah, I could see that. You know, I could see Usopp and the gang making it to the upper levels of Elbaf, the Yggdrasil tree, and then kind of just talking their way through the whole Sun God Road situation, right? Road might get his comeuppance. Road might even apologize to the Straw Hats, which I think is still a possibility. Because last chapter, we saw that Road is chasing the Straw Hats, and right behind Road is Garrett and Goldberg carrying the Thousand Sunny. Road didn't say why he was chasing them. He didn't say, come back here, I want to kill you, or, ooh, I'm going to trap you in my Lego cell. He didn't say any of that. So I think, again, there's a little bit of ambiguity there. Road might be on his way to apologize to the Straw Hats because he knows he's cooked. I mean, here's the thing, right? If Road doesn't apologize, he's 100% cooked. Because Zoro wants to kill the guy, right? Zoro almost turned around and put this guy into the dirt, but even though Zoro didn't do that, the rest of Elbaf will. I mean, Dory and Brogy will. Harden's gonna kick him out of the crew. Like, there is no escape route for Road. The only way he might be able to get out of this is if he apologizes. You know, so that is what I think his plan might be. I still think he's gonna be a conniving, you know, snake. He's not going to like the Straw Hats still. He's not going to get over his little bit of racism against humans. So yeah, I think he will be a big player later on. But right now, I think he's going to be a good giant and just keel over for the Straw Hats. So now, if Usopp's group makes it to the Yggdrasil tree, I think we're going to get some crazy exploration. That's usually what Oda does, and I know he loves that, right? Every time we hit a new island, it's like, oh, here's the town, here's the people, here's what they wear, here's weird technology. And alongside all of this, I think we will finally learn, well, I say finally, it was introduced in 1131, but I think we will see Taiyoseki. You know, that might sound familiar, right? Because Kairoseki is Sea Stone. Taiyoseki is Sunstone. That right there is what Harden and Stanson mentioned last chapter. They wanted to pick up the moose. It was really heavy, but they're like, oh, dang, it sucks that we don't have Taiyoseki. And he's like, it's fine. We're warriors of Elbaf. We'll just bring this thing back ourselves. So there is some mystery behind that. What is Taiyoseki? What is Sunstone? Is it something that powers people up? Is it a device that helps them carry moose and animals? We don't know yet, but I am expecting something pretty big for it, right? Because it is the only other stone we've seen in the series besides Sea Stone, I think it will be massive. And it will be like a specialty of Elbaf. Hell, it could even be what we need to hurt the Gorosei, right? Because we don't know how to hurt those guys. They infinitely regenerate. But imagine if Taiyoseki, just like how Sea Stone works on Devil Fruits, imagine if Taiyoseki works on the Gorosei. That would make the trip here to Elbaf all the more meaningful for our journey. So now, as far as Robin's group, right? Robin, Frankie, who else is there? Robin, Frankie, Brooke, Jimbei, Bonnie, Kuma, Lilith, Dory, and Brogy. My God, that's a lot of people. At first, I was like, oh, like, that's 2 or 3 people, and then I just started listing them off. So as far as they go, so my take is that we won't see Luffy. Will we see Robin's group? I think so. I think they will be the cliffhanger because they're about to encounter the biggest mystery of Elbaf. I don't want to call it that, but you know, there's not a lot of mysteries right now. But they're about to meet the man off the coast. Dude, how long has it been since we saw that guy off the coast saying, hey, come on then, right? So they're about to run into him, right? They see the shore, they're about to dock, and that guy should be right there. So I think that might be the finale. We'll get the reveal of whether it's, Shiki, Scopper Gaban, a brand new character, the man marked by flames. I think we will finally see who that is. I think that will be the cliffhanger for this chapter. I think it would work really well. As far as Saul goes, I don't think we're going to hear anything about Saul. I think he's really important, but all the people who care about Saul right now aren't on Elbaf yet. Right? Robin cares about him and all them. Vegapunk cares about Saul. But as far as the Straw Hats on the island, they just want to explore and have some fun. So I doubt we're going to see Saul on their front. And plus, if Saul is sick and fallen down and in a hospital or something, I doubt the Straw Hats are just going to visit a giant they haven't personally met yet. So yeah, I think Oda will save the Saul reveal for when Robin makes it on the island. So now, time to talk about the 180 that could happen. The 180 I'm talking about is what if we don't see the Straw Hats? What if this is a Cross Guild chapter, Revolutionary Army chapter, Marine chapter? Is that it? Cross Guild, Marines, Revolutionary Army. Oh yeah, Sword, Celestial Dragons with the Holy Knights. And then we also have Blackbeard and Shanks. Oh my god, there's so many people. So as far as all of them goes, since we are in the final saga, I could easily see Oda splitting the chapter up. Half chapter on Elbaf and then half chapter outside of Elbaf. Because in Egghead, we got a lot of that, When people talk about Egghead Island being their favorite island, it isn't just because of the Gorosei. It isn't just because of technology or Rob Lucci. No. Do people bring up the Reverie? People bring up Sabo, people bring up, Shanks, they bring up Blackbeard and Law, Garp and Kuza. Like, there's so many reasons why people like Egghead Island, and a majority of those reasons aren't even because of what takes place on the island. Half of it, sure, the Kuma flashback big, everything else big, but people also like the side activities. So I think Oda will take that momentum and carry it through here on Elbaf as well, especially since we are in the final saga. We need to see these guys all reach one point, right? We're not just going to go to the next island and then it's like, boom, here's the red-haired pirates. How'd they get here? Well, I don't know. Same with the Blackbeard pirates and everybody else. I think Oda is going to build these guys up on the side, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them. So now that I've established that we could see each and every one of these factions, I do want to just run down and talk about what they could be up to. I know there's a lot. I'm going to make it super quick. I don't want to keep you guys here for too long. This is supposed to be a quick recap. So if we see who's first, let's do Revolutionary Army. If we see them, I do think they would have a bunch of problems on their fronts, and that's because of the Blackbeard pirates. Last we saw, Lafitte was ready to execute some mission given to him by Blackbeard. So I think we would see what that's all about. And I think if we do get that, it could also tie in the Holy Knights. Because when Lafitte was shown, he was shown alongside all the food that is supposed to be sent up to the Red Line. And the Bondolas were destroyed. That is the Holy Knights' main job right now, to secure food for the Celestial Dragons. So we could get a trifecta between the Blackbeard pirates with Lafitte, the Revolutionary Army, and of course, last but not least, but the Holy Knights. Maybe we'll finally meet the first Holy Knight that isn't for Garland Garling. I think that'd be pretty cool. So outside of them, if we do go to Blackbeard specifically, we could see him and Caribou. Caribou was being lifted up to Hachinosu, and he's about to get his audience with Marshal D. Teach. If Caribou spills the beans about the ancient weapons, Blackbeard could be on his way to Fishman Island. Blackbeard could be on his way to Wano, to spice up the Yamato cover page story. So yeah, I think that would be a really interesting front. As far as Sword goes though, right, if we go to Sword, I don't know. Last we saw, Kobe said, hey, Luffy, I'm going to have to put an end to those dreams. I'm going to have to find the One Piece. So with that being the case, they would kind of have to go after the poneglyphs. They'd either have to go after the poneglyphs or tag alongside a Yonko who has poneglyphs. I don't think they'd work that hand in hand with pirates. I don't exactly see them going up to Luffy and saying, hey, I want to stop you, but also let's go to Laugh Tale together. So no, I think they will search for poneglyphs on their own. As far as taking down a Yonko crew to get poneglyphs like Blackbeard or Shanks, I think that is out of their wheelhouse. Right now the strongest member of Sword is Kobe, Groose, and maybe Drake. I'm kind of hesitant to say that because of Wano, but yeah, I think they need to enter a training arc. So hopefully they're just powering up their hockey or devil fruits or whatever. So now, if we go to a different group like red-haired Shanks, for example, where could he be on his way to next? He just beat Bartolomeo, he heard a little bit about Luffy, and then they destroyed Barto's ship. We don't really have a good notion as to where he might be going, but he does have 3 road poneglyphs if he did take Kid's poneglyphs on Elbaf. And the reason I say if he did is because there is still some debate as to whether or not that happened because of the ambiguity in the manga and in the anime. When Heat and Wire, or I think it's just Heat, but yeah, when Heat hands Shanks the poneglyphs, Oda actually blocks out the handing of poneglyphs by the ship's mast. And then when we cut over, Oda is still blocking it. So we never really get a full context of whether or not Shanks took them. We assume he did, but we never see it. Oda just kind of, hides it behind pillars and buildings. So it was kind of weird, a really interesting choice from Oda. There is a small part of me that wonders if that was purposeful. But yeah, I think we could see Shanks going to the last poneglyph. Or maybe just looking for somebody who can read the poneglyphs, right? Because that is one thing that a lot of people have been kind of talking about, especially with the race of the One Piece being near its end. Like, oh, if Luffy wants to go to Laugh Tale, he's got Robin. If Shanks wants to go to Laugh Tale, he has nobody. Can somebody on Shanks' crew actually read that information? If they can, then, they haven't really shown themselves yet. Like for Blackbeard, at least he has Pudding. At least Blackbeard could awaken her third eye and force Pudding to tell him where to go. But Shanks doesn't really have somebody that specializes in archaeology to our knowledge, so maybe he's looking for somebody who can read him, or maybe Shanks is even just going to the man marked by flames to get the last rubbing. That is totally possible. So now, as far as Cross Guild goes, they're kind of stuck in the same boat. We don't know what they're doing right now, but last we saw, Buggy did declare he wanted to become King of the Pirates. He called Crocodile and Mihawk has-beens, right? Guys who gave up on their dreams and ambitions. So with that being the case, I do see there being a world where Buggy is pushing his crew to find the One Piece. And how would he do that? Well, he would have to collect the poneglyphs, which is always a hassle, right? Buggy would have to go to Zou, he'd have to go to Wano, he'd have to go to Whole Cake Island. But the thing about this is that he would have a really good time doing it. I mean, hell, he was with Roger when he was on his journey. So considering the fact that Roger was on really friendly terms with a majority of these islands, yeah, Buggy could go to Zou and get an easy rubbing. He could also go to Wano and get some easy rubbings. I call it a happy ending. And then as far as the Whole Cake Island poneglyph goes, if Big Mom still isn't home, if she is dead or just MIA still, then I'm gonna leave it up to Mihawk and Crocodile, dude. Those guys would run the gauntlet over there, easy peasy. So yeah, maybe we could see Cross Guild speedrunning their way to the One Piece. And, since we're talking about Cross Guild, the one thing that we could get cleared up is Gecko Moria. Because Gecko Moria's on the loose, man. We don't know where he's at. Maybe he meets up with these guys. We could even see Boa Hancock because we don't really know what's going on with her. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, it's hard to make predictions sometimes because there's so many moving parts in One Piece. Like, we could genuinely go anywhere in the world and it would make sense, right? It would push the story forward, unless it's with Gaimon. Gaimon doesn't provide anything. He's just living a happy life with his wife. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I really freaking appreciate it. Let me know what you think about the upcoming chapter and what are your predictions for 1132. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Peace.